So I'm like on the last like 5 chapters of like editing my book, and then I'm gonna have it like ready to be published. And I'm like, notice that I like keep like finding different reasons to avoid doing the work. And so then I was like, okay, I'm obviously like self-sabotaging myself right now. I was thinking about it too, and I was like, I wonder why I'm doing that. And I was like, well, I think it's because I'm scared of like, well, not only that, like it's a very personable, vulnerable book too, right? Like it's something I created with my mind, and I'm scared of what people would think. So there's the fear of that. There's like the fear of like, there's just a lot of fears. And I think all of those fears is like kind of like making me delay my book. So I'm not going to do that anymore because I really want it, and I want to move on to my second book and my third book and my fourth book. And so I'm going to face my fears and just get it over with and stop self-sabotaging. But then it had me thinking about other things that like, would be self-sabotaging. And so I decided I want to do like a YouTube video and talking about it because I feel like we all struggle with it. And what is self-sabotaging? It's a protection mechanism that your brain does to protect you from disappointment and risk and pain, right? So we all have this protection mechanism. It's like, and it's there. And it can look like self-sabotaging can look like going back to like relationships that, broke you. It can look like a really common one, like I'm going to start Monday. When you have like goals, you're going to start Monday. Like start now. Don't wait for Mondays. Never wait for Mondays. And it can look like so many different things, like not avoiding success because you're scared of where that will take you and how your life will look if you have that. Picking fights when things are going well in your life. I do that one. And then I like think about it. I was like, ooh, why did I do that, right? Like self-sabotage is when your actions don't match what you want because your nervous system is so used to being like the older version of you, right? Like your nervous system is used to that comfort, and even if it's not safe, it's just used to it. And that's what self-sabotage is when you're in an unfamiliar state, and then you got to go back to the old you. That's what it is. And like there's so many ways to self-sabotage, and like it's so funny too because like I even pointed out to like people in my life too, I'm like, that's you self-sabotaging, because I notice their patterns. And it's all patterns. When things are going well in a relationship, let's say they every relationship they have, when they hit the 3-month mark, it's like, oh well, I'm gonna ruin it because I don't want to go further, because if I go further I'm gonna have to be vulnerable with this person and show up in a way I don't know if I can. Like there's so many ways to self-sabotage. It's like me delaying my book is self-sabotage. You like another one I was doing is because I'm trying to run. I'm trying to get more like I want to run, but I don't want to run too much. I want to run only like 20 minutes and do like sprints. And so I've been doing that with my dog here and there, but then I haven't done it for like a week, and I keep thinking of like different excuses to why not. So this morning I was like walking my dog, and I was like, you know what? And I was like, I want to run. And so I walked like halfway, and I was like, you know what? I want to run. I was like, you know what? Why wouldn't I run? Sometimes my excuse is I don't have a bra on, and I don't want to run because I don't have a bra on. And I was like, well, I got my bra on. I got my dog. So I'm going to go for a run. And I just ran. And I didn't even run that long. It was like probably like but I was happy I did it. And I was like, okay, that's the start. Now, tomorrow when I go and walk my dog, I'll run again. You just got to keep doing it. Like you just can't. It's so easy to get caught up in like your comfort zone and what's familiar. And then when things start changing, like the only way things in your life are going to change is you got to be uncomfortable, and you got to give into that. So it's normal. Like it's like when you're like I don't want to say like, because you're not jumping off buildings or anything, but like it's like, when you're like, let's say you're on like you're cliff jumping. If you ever done that. I never done that though, but I figured it would be like this. And you're like cliff jumping, and you go and you jump, but you hesitate, right? And then it's like, think about that, like you're going to do a jump in life, but you hesitate. That's your self-sabotaging, right? When you just got to jump. You got to go and just see how it is. Because like, honestly, the things that you're worried about will probably not happen. And if they do, then you'll survive them. So to like do that, don't like be scared of that stuff, right? Like, don't be scared of succeeding. Don't be scared of trying new things and looking. Like, another thing too about running for me too is like, I always was worried about what people would think of me running and, being like that. And now, like, I'm just like, it's funny because you had to like constantly remind yourself to not care. So I was like running and I was like, I don't even care. Like, and I was like, my dog's not that good with other people, my like other dogs too. So I'm like, I see a dog coming and I'm like going on to the other side of the street running. And then I'm like, I see like two people on both sidewalks. I'm like running between, like, I probably look a little silly, but like, who cares? And to be honest, they don't care either. Nobody, they're all in their minds. They're all thinking about themselves anyways. They don't care. So do it. Just do it. And don't be worried about it. But a lot of people will self-sabotage because they're scared what people will think, right? But just go and do it. And yeah, like, that's just the best thing to do. Your sabotaging isn't proof that you're broken. It's the proof that your part of you doesn't feel safe yet doing that thing. That's what it means. And the more you do it, the more safe and more familiar it becomes. And that's what self-sabotaging is. And you, like, to break the pattern, the only actual way to do it is, like, awareness, like being aware of it. That's why I always say, like, study yourself, like, find out what your patterns are. Once you know your patterns, it's so much easier to change yourself, because like, that's all we are, is just patterns. It's like, and you got to rewire your identity. And that's what I started doing too, is like, the things that I tell myself were like old versions of myself. I was actually having a conversation and with someone, and I was talking about how, like, in my dream, I was having a dream of like a certain situation that would happen. And they asked me why I was like reacting like that in there. And I said, I think it was like an old version of me. And I was just, in my dream, like, I'm being reminded that I'm not that version anymore, and that I actually don't need to react like that way and feel that way. Like, I'm in a much, how I reacted in my dream was the version of myself in the past, how that version would have reacted. And that version would have reacted from like being insecure, not loving towards myself. And I'm no longer that person. I do get insecure and all that. Of course, I'm human. But I'm in a much secure place with myself, and I love myself a lot more now that I've done the work. And being like that, you're so used to being a version of yourself, and your body's used to it. So when you start doing new things, your body's like, no, don't do that. And then you self-sabotage, because now you're like, okay, it's easier just going backwards. But honestly, you don't want to stay in places. Like, you want to continuously grow, because there's so many amazing things on the other side of your growth and doing those hard things. You just need to get there. So you need to like be aware of your patterns and when you're self-sabotaging, because then you can sit there and you can be like, okay, why am I self-sabotaging? What am I scared of? And then you realize, like, oh, I'm scared. Oh, like, I'm afraid that if this and this happens, then this will happen. And once you talk to yourself more and you realize that, like, those things may happen, but they may not. Like, and you have no proof. Who told you those things were going to happen anyways? You just made it up. You don't know if that's going to actually happen. And if it does happen, play it out. Okay, so worst case scenario, it does happen. Like, worst case scenario, you're running and you trip and fall and everyone laughs at you. Like, you're probably not going to see these people again. And honestly, I would just get up and smile and continue to run. Like, you just play it out and you realize that it's not actually a big deal, and that, like, what you're worried about is not actually going to happen. And that's how you overcome it. You can also like focus on like little wins. When you focus on little wins, then it builds up your confidence, and you'll less likely be self-sabotaging. Like, it's like slowly releasing things, trying, like, take a little baby step of doing it and see how you feel, and then go from there. And then visualize what it feels to have these things, what it feels to be this person, to be confident, to not self-sabotage. Like, what happens if you actually went further and you didn't like try to stop it? And visualize that. And then rewiring your identity, like becoming the person that does these things. Like, in a runner's mind, Rachel, what would a runner do? Well, they wouldn't care about other people. That's true. And they probably wouldn't care about what they look like running, and if stuff like that. So, and they would run a lot. If you want to be a runner, you got to run. So you just like rewire your stuff. That was probably a bad example, but um, running was probably not the best one. But you know, like, okay, like for my book, for example, because that's the thing that I'm like always stuck on. Um, like I think about it and like it's just funny to think that like maybe in 5 years, no, not maybe, don't talk like that. In 5 years, I'm gonna have like probably 5 or 6 books written, and I'm gonna like look back on this and be like, remember how worried you were about publishing your first book? Yeah, play it forward. That's how you do it. But anyways, that is my advice on self-sabotaging.